Whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Fran, and I grew up in the Love Canal. I have 7 brothers and sisters, and that was a great neighborhood. There were tons of kids around. We were at the school playing all the time. I don't know, it was just fun.
Who are some of your neighbors?
On this side was Bailey's, then us. I don't remember who the guy next door was, but he was a jerk. And then next door to them was somebody else. Cosmano, that's who they were. And my future sister-in-law lived across the street from us. And then there was Tyler and Tupper and Murray and Lane, and a couple of them were grumpy old people, but we kind of stayed away from them. We ran around and played and hid from everybody. We always had to be home when the streetlights came on, but we only had to be home. We didn't have to be in the house. So all the kids would come to our house. They'd all be quiet while we went in the house, and we'd ask, can we go play in the yard? And because there were so many of us, she knew we weren't going anywhere because somebody would tattle on somebody else. So all the friends we had, we all played hide and go seek. We played this game called Hide the Belt. Football, baseball down the street. All this black stuff started coming up in houses in the basements on the other side, other streets. And I don't even really know how it started because I didn't really care. I was a senior in high school. I didn't care what they did. I didn't care what anybody did. As I got older, I spent more time in the house with my mom, across the street with my future sister-in-law. I didn't really care.
So what school did you go to?
I did not go to 99th Street School. I went to a Catholic school, Prince of Peace, probably 2 miles away. But we did walk to school, and we had to walk through Love Canal to go. We swam at 91st Street Pool. We cut through the school and the projects that were over there, so we didn't have to walk all the way around. But we did play in there.
How long did you live in the area?
From I don't remember how old I was, but it was my second year at 3rd grade until 1979 when I got married and moved out of the area.
Do you remember the protest? Did you participate in any of those things?
I do remember it, and I remember being there, and the next day our picture was in the paper, and we didn't like it. We didn't want people to know that that's where we lived, so we left the area.
Who was the first people to leave your guys' street?
On our street.
Or one of the first families you remember leaving the area?
I would have to say Greens, across the street. I don't remember anybody leaving for that reason. I don't even know that that's the reason that they left. But I know that my parents, for a long time, my dad would not settle on what the state wanted to pay him for his house. And it was probably 84, 85 before they moved out.
What did the road look like then, or the area, when they decided to leave?
Not very many houses, but there were a few scattered around. The road was all tore up because nobody lived there. They're not going to clean it in the wintertime and pave it in the summertime. So it was just like any other street nowadays because they don't want to do it now either. But it was a fun area to live in.
Have you been back since?
Every now and then I would drive through. I would take my friends. That's where my house used to be. That's where my sister-in-law's house is. That's the house I babysat. Just driving around, that's where the school was. There's a community center. We used to go there for lunch.
Is there anything else you want to add? Any stories?
I do know that the night my mom and dad moved out, somebody broke into the house and took all the copper pipe tubing out. And the next day, the house was burned to the ground, which it didn't bother me that it was burnt because I really didn't want anybody else living in my house. The first time I had been in that house was the summer after my trip to Albany to see my cousin. My family had already moved in. When I came home, my dad picked us up at the airport and took us there. And I remember walking in the house and I had to go to the bathroom, and I could swear, and everybody tells me I'm wrong, that there's a dip between the living room and that hallway. And I fell into the bathroom door. But there was no dip in there. It could have been late. I was only, how old are you in fourth grade? 9. Because it was my second, I had to repeat 3rd grade, so I was 9. I know there was a dip in that house.
So last year in 2018 was the 40th anniversary of the Love Canal.
I read about it. I didn't really care to know about it. I read it in the paper. I read it all over Facebook. It was the same as what it was in 1978, 79 when they started. They just babbled on about, people can have miscarriages, that the baby boomers that lived in the area, their kids now could be having problems, or our grandchildren could be having problems, but they wouldn't be able to detect it to the Love Canal because I don't think they could, because I don't think they investigated that much into it to see exactly what the chemicals would cause harm to do. I do know, not personally, but I do know that there were families on 97th Street toward Frontier. There were a couple women that lived over there that I know had miscarriages after they started digging in the Love Canal. Two of my sisters and I, after they started digging in the Love Canal, got psoriasis. But when I went to my doctor about it, they could not contribute it to the Love Canal because my doctor said that it can be nerves, it can be a chemical imbalance in your body, so they could never prove that it was because of the Love Canal. But I moved out of New York State, mine went away.
What brought you back?
My kids, my grandkids.